Hi, this is Gary, and today I'm going to talk to you about two things. First thing I'm going to talk to you about is the USDA has redone their zone maps, climate zone maps, and a lot of people are asking what does that mean, because a lot of people, like in my area, you warmed up half a zone, so I was scheduled to be in 8B, now I'm in 9A, and kind of what does that mean? It really means absolutely nothing as far as anything that's changed. What happened was in the 80s, it's based on a 30-year average. In the 80s, we had a really cold spell came in and hit, and it kind of kicked everybody into a colder climate. Well, now that year has dropped off. They've redone it. They do it about every 10 or 11 years, whatever. So now it's shown as being warming. So don't think that now all of a sudden we're going to have warmer temperatures. If you're up around Austin or whatever and you went from a 8B to a 9A and hey, I can grow citrus now, don't have to worry about the cold, it's no different than you've experienced over the last few years. It's climate hasn't, this isn't climate change or whatever. It's just, things, it's a 30-year average, and that average has changed some. I think before it's kind of went back to the way it was, the time before we had before we had the cold. So again, don't sit there and think that you're going to be able to grow really, tomatoes in the wintertime in our area, because we're getting warmer. It's just a fluctuation of the temperatures or whatever. So if you're new to the area, yeah, it means something, but if you've been here a while, don't think that, well, we're getting warmer, because if you think about it, we've had two winters in which it was actually much colder. We're at 9A, we're supposed to get between 20 and 25 degrees. We got in the 10 to 15 degrees 2 out of the last 3 years. So don't think that all of a sudden we're going to be really warmer. You can start growing a lot of things that you couldn't grow before. But anyway, today, the main thing I'm going to be talking about is tomato varieties that I've tried in the past and what I'm going to be growing this year, more or less. I'm kind of go through the different tomatoes that I have, some that I've kicked out, some of the seeds that I have that I've kicked out. I'll put them over here to my left. And if you want the seeds, some of them are old, but I'll, for postage or whatever, probably won't be postage, but if you leave a comment or send me an email, the email, if you go on the computer, it would be on the About tab. You can shoot me an email requesting it. I have to have your mailing address to be able to ship it to you. And I'm kind of going first come, first serve basis. So especially some of these, I say, hey, they may be good for up north. So if you're a northern gardener, you may want to try it. Be honest with you, I wouldn't mess with it. If I tried it and it hadn't worked, it may be they're just not adapted for this area. It could be because I actually did a good job or just a bad year. But now two of these, the first two I'm going to talk about is one's called Spike. These from 2018, or packaged for 2018. So they may or may not have germination good, but it was Spike. It was one that was a pretty tomato. As far as the color of it, it had a really pretty foliage to it, but the taste wasn't there. The other one was Vernon Sedge. Can you see that? And can you read it? It's called Black, Vernissage. Again, it's probably 5 years old. When I planted them, I planted 4 or 5 seeds, didn't get any germination up. I don't know if the seeds were good or not, but anyway, that's those. Now here's the ones that I've packed up. I'm going to be going by types. I grow around 50 tomato plants. I may grow a little bit more this year according to how I situate the garden. And one thing you have to do is, if you're growing seeds, if you want to, this here to me has been the best thing. It's the Protect 162 tray. It's got 162 cells to it. It's a really nice tray. One of them I got from Haas Tools. They come in a package. I think it's $80, and you get this tray. I think you get this, you get some potting mix, you get a lot of different stuff with that. I think you also get a nozzle to water them with. So if you're going to buy a bunch of them, I think I also bought one where I got 10 of these, and of just the cells, and they were like, for 10 of them it's $200 and something, which makes them fairly cheap as far as per basis. What I like about these is you see this on one that died. These were in here for a long time, and if you'll notice, all those roots are growing down. Is it focused in? All the roots grow down. They don't grow around. Most stuff that you see, the roots will go around there, and those roots tend to continue to go around. On this tray, they grow down. You'll see the hole in the bottom of it, and they'll actually start growing out that hole. And I really liked them. I really enjoyed doing this. It's really made my germination better. You put 2 of the shop lights over them. It gives you enough lights for it. Anyway, what I use for my seed mix, this here is one of the bales of peat moss. I'm not going to pick it up because it's heavy. And then I get one of these really big perlite bags. And this costs around between $30 and $40, I think now. It used to be around 20. And this is that regular perlite. And you'll mix, I mixed one part of the perlite, 2 parts of the peat moss. That's all it is. 2 ingredients. You know, 2/3 this, 1/3 that, and mix it up. Wet it before you put it in the tray because it's hard to get wet because this peat moss, if it's not damp, it repels water. You have no problem with any kind of herbicide contamination because you don't have any compost, none of the manures. You know, all you have is peat moss and the other. You don't have any fertility to it, so you're going to have to add fertility to them. But you can do that with Miracle Grow, or if you're going to do organics, you want to start off putting those organics in it because it takes organics a couple 3 weeks before the nutrients are available for the plant. So I always use the synthetics just because it's, when you put it down, you'll see a difference in them the next day. So but different people have different ideas how they want to grow things. It's their garden, your rules. First one I'm going to talk about is the paste tomatoes. I used to always try to grow aromas, never had any success with them. They would start growing, they'd disease up on me, the plants didn't do well, the tomatoes themselves would get spots on them and wouldn't do well. And I started out growing the Invincible. And this is one that is a, can we see that good, son? And this is one of those that it's a hybrid tomato. Got real good disease resistance, and it became easy. They made well, they put on well, and good for processing. And that was the first one that I tried. And then the other one, I tried the Shelby the next year, and Shelby was a good one too. It done well for me last year. The only thing I kind of don't like about the Shelby and the Invincible is Haas sells them as pelleted seeds. So you kind of need to get new seeds every year. The pelletized ones just don't hold the germination well. So that's kind of the knock on, I would say it's knock on those. Tachi was one that he really promoted, and I tried those last year and they did okay. Like the other 2. Really couldn't tell a whole lot of difference in them. But I did order newer seeds this year. And the new one I'm going to try, and this one is not pelletized, it's called Saucy Lady. And I will see how it performs. But with these other types, I've had really good success. I know some people have tried the San Marano and have not had good success with those either. Just so true, regular aromas, I never had success with them. So if you haven't, I say try some of these seeds, see how they work for you. It's made growing garden a lot better. I'll probably put anywhere from 8 to 16 plants. I got in the garden, I looked at, I got enough for where I'm going to put them this year for 8 plants in a row. I don't know if I'm going to go 2 rows of the indeterminate of the paste tomatoes or just 1. But anyway, that's the paste tomatoes that I have, and really so far I've had good success with all those seeds. The next group, and it makes it a lot harder for me because I seem to like the cherry tomatoes because you get such a diversity. So here's my package of cherry tomatoes. First one is Mountain Vineyard, and it is a plum type tomato, and I guess, yeah, and very sweet. Has it's good vigor to it, makes well, and I really enjoy it, and I'll grow it again. The seeds do kind of get to be a little bit expensive, but you know. Mingle Mix is a new one. and I really can't tell you anything about it other than I'm planning on trying it next year, or this coming year. Two other torch tomatoes that I've got. One of them's called Cream of the Crop Sunset, and the other one is Cream of the Crop Plum Drop. Gonna try these two, see how they work. Don't know much about them. I don't like the torch tomatoes that well because they do seem to split on me really bad. And if they split and aren't any good, I don't care about the taste or anything else. If they're gonna split really bad and you can't ever get them to make, what good are they? The other one's a new one. It's Toragina. I don't know if you can see it. Toragina is the F1 hybrid. It's supposed to be an improvement over the Sun Gold. A lot of people's tried to improve the Sun Gold or grow Sun Gold again next year. This will be the first year for Toragina. I know Lazy Dog Farms really promoted it, and that's kind of why I'm seeing it. He said he had really good luck with it and he enjoyed it. So I'm going on his recommendation. Blueberries. Yeah, I got a few seeds in there. Now blueberries this is from In My Gardener. Nothing to do against In My Gardener. I planned on planting it again until we done this taste test on these. Very pretty tomato, as you can see. Grows really well. It's a little bit later as far as ripening than your Sun Gold and stuff. The flavor's just not there. And I've tried this 2 years in a row, or 2 years, not in a row, but tried it for a couple of years. The flavor's just not there. And it's a pretty tomato. It makes a lot. The vigor's there. It's fairly disease resistant to stuff. It's just, I don't plan on growing it again just because of that. And I've got so many other seeds that I grow. So some people may like it. So if anybody's wanting the pack of seeds, just let me know. This was the seeds that I had that I planted it from. So I've got 2 packs of seeds. This pack of seed I think I got from a year. I have no idea. Well, 1221. So it was only a couple years old. This one, I'm gonna put these two together. I ordered the Purple Russian and the Ukrainian Purple. Plant them side by side. Don't know if they don't like each other or what, but neither one of them did very well for me. The plants didn't have good disease resistance. They just don't like a heat, I don't think, or they don't like a disease pressure we got. I'm really kind of surprised. I'm not going to grow them again. I mean, it was just, to me, a total fail for me. I might have got 1 or 2 tomatoes off of them. If you grow up north, they may do well for you, but they just didn't do well for me. These were free seeds from Baker Creek. This other one comes from Seed Savers Exchange, but kind of ironic. I didn't mean to do that when I planted them, but after I got through planting them, they got, or like I say, they just didn't do well. So I don't know, if they're not going to do well and I have a really bad failure on it, I'm not going to try them again. This one here is Chocolate Cherry. I really like, that's one of my favorite tomatoes. Chocolate Cherry's got really good taste. It does have a very vigorous vine to it, so it's going to grow big and tall, and it's got a lot of growth between the points. So it's going to grow tall and you're really quick. And my Doberman just jumped out. She's not supposed to be here, but I'll grow it again next year. This one's Mountain. I already did Mountain Vineyard. Yeah, already done Mountain Vineyard. Champagne Bubbles. It's a really pretty little tomato. Did well, has good flavor to it. Probably wasn't as good a flavor as your Sun Gold, but I'll plan on planting it again if I have room. See, the problem I'm having, if you noticed, I know I have probably room for 16. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 already. So, and I like to try to grow 2 per plant if I can, because that way I know if if it's just a bad plant, or is it, sometimes you just get a bad plant, or is it just a variety. This was Tropical Sunset. It's much like Champagne, kind of same flavor, same profile. I'll probably plant it again. It did well. so I'm planning on planting it. Scuff's yellow cherry I got from Forgotten Heirlooms. It was a gift, so I'm not sure. I may or may not plant it if I got room. Jackie cherry, it says it's a prolific producer of little antho cherry tomatoes, indeterminate, not quite pear-shaped, but not plain round either. And it says more of an egg shape. I don't know. I picked it up for some reason. Planning on trying to give it a try. This is called Coyote. Now I will say Coyote was some of the people at the churches, some of the people's favorite tomato. It is a very small tomato. It is a very aggressive grower. It will tend to take over that garden space. It produces a lot of little cherry tomatoes. I finally figured out you want to cut the clusters off because it just takes you forever trying to pick up each individual one off. But people really liked it. It was really sweet. Some people said it had a faint taste of vanilla in it. We didn't really taste that, but it was, for some people they liked it better than Sun Gold, which is kind of surprising to me, because they also liked the Sun Gold, but they like this one better. Honestly, I'm not that big of a favor of Sun Gold. I don't like the sweetness of it. I like the cherry. I like the chocolate cherry better, but my wife loves the Sun Gold. And again, I got the Sun Gold, and to me, everybody ought to grow Sun Gold. It's one of the earliest tomatoes to produce and to make. It does really well. Napa Chardonnay is another one, kind of like chocolate, kind of like the Tropical Sunset and the Champagne Bubbles. Kind of the same flavor profile, but it was a good one. Japanese Black Truffle. I bought this one. I'm not sure if I'll find a place for it, but I'm going to try to and see if I like it. Purple Bumblebee. It's another really pretty tomato. Makes well. Has good flavor to it. The skin's a little thick on it. Again, it's probably my first or second choice as far as the tomato. If I was wanting to put a cherry type tomato on a hamburger, this one I would pick. Sunrise Bumblebee is another bumblebee selection, and I'm not sure. I think I got a couple of seeds. We'll see about it. Sun Sugar is another one that's supposed to be improvement on Sun Gold. I'm going to give it a try again. I think I've tried it in the past. Give it a try again. See how it does. But I haven't grown it in a while. Another Purple Bumblebee. Large Red Cherry. It was a later producing one, and it was a large cherry. To me, it was nothing special. It wasn't the earliest. It wasn't the best tasting. It was a vigorous grower. I'm probably not going to grow it next year, but this one is called Blush. It was the one that I had. I grew it in the garden, and I also grew it out here in the containers. It split really bad. Now we get lots of rain, so that might just be my problem. I got a few seeds left. Honestly, somebody requested it. I probably got, counted tens, I probably got 4 or 5 left in it. So put it over here for anybody. This one here, like you can really see the seeds. This is called Everglade, and it is Everglades tomato. It's a naturalized tomato that grows in Florida, and if you want it in your garden, you grow it the first year, and the birds will take those little seeds and deposit it all over your garden, and you get volunteers all over the place. It wasn't a favorite of ours. Really small tomato. It takes a long time to harvest them. I won't be growing again. I just want to try it again to see, and it just didn't make the cut. But if somebody else wants to try it, I did grow it in a container, and it did okay in a container. It's just, like I said, the flavor wasn't great. It had more of a tart flavor to it. But if it did produce. Black cherry. Again, this is going to be older seeds, 2018 when these seeds were packaged. Black cherry is a lot like chocolate cherry. It's not quite as big. I tend to like, saying a lot again. The chocolate cherry I like better, but black cherry is a good one also. Pink bumblebee, if you want to ever try that, it's older seed. I'll throw it over here in case somebody wants it. Isis candy, it was one of those that I tried and just did not, I think those didn't germinate. It was a couple of them I didn't germinate, and they didn't germinate back in 2018. I'm not sure they germinate now, but if anybody wants to give them a try, I'll throw them over there. Chadwick cherry, they're good. They're a good one. It's sweet. It says sweet tasting tomato, large, highly productive vine, disease resistant, cold hardy. It's indeterminate. It's but I've grown it before. It was probably a bit above average taste, flavor. It didn't get real tall. It kind of stopped at about 4 foot, 5 foot tall, so it's not one of the really tall ones. But if anybody's wanting it, chocolate pear, may want to try it, see how it does. I'm going to throw it in there too. My son's giving me porter tomatoes, very disease resistant tomato. I may or may not try. It was kind of developed for Texas, but I'm going to know it, and if I got room for it. And yellow pear is not disease resistant, but it seems to keep growing. It seems to outgrow the diseases or whatever. We're going to stop for a second here. We're going to charge up the battery, and we'll continue this here in just a minute. Okay, now we're back. I'm going to be talking about determinate tomatoes next. I'm going to be growing determinate tomatoes for me are the workhorses. They're going to give you the majority of the tomatoes down south. They make a lot of tomatoes. They make them over a fairly short period of time, 3 to 4 week period of time. The thing about indeterminates, up north they'll make all summer long. In the south, come July, nothing's going to survive. So a lot of times you get way more tomatoes, you know, bulk tomatoes out of the determinate tomatoes. A new one that's come out and we're trying is Celebrity Plus. Celebrity is an old variety that's been around for a long time, and they've tried to give it a little more disease tolerance on it. It's a fair tasting tomato, nothing special. It's a semi-indeterminate, so it will continue to make over time. Bella Rosa is another one that I've tried. The plant itself isn't very impressive, but it does make a lot of tomatoes. It's the date of maturity is 70 days. Hosinator is a newer variety that Hoss Tools came up with, or that they named. It's a good tomato, a big tomato. It's got good flavor to it, and you know, I think that it's done really well for me last year. I'm not going to talk about Brickyard because they no longer produce that one anymore. Red Snapper is the one that a lot of people went to after Brickyard. Brickyard was bad thing about hybrids is, like on the Brickyard, they no longer breed it anymore. Red Snapper kind of took its place. It's a lot like Hosinator. If I had the choice of the two, from what I've heard, Hosinator is probably the one I would go with. And Roadster is an older variety. I like it because they do sell it from Hoss Tools. They sell it with untreated seeds, so the seeds will keep the germination longer. I don't have as many different varieties of determinants, but they, like I say, they're the workhorses. They do a really good job. Next I'm going to talk about is the indeterminate tomatoes. Now, Florida 91 is the one that's got the heat set gene on it. I'm going to grow it this fall. You know, things go as planned. My tomatoes, only haven't made a few tomatoes for fall tomatoes, but a lot of it's because they didn't set in time, so they didn't have time to ripen. So I'm going to try again with fall tomatoes, but this time I'm going with Florida 91. Raspberry Mocha is one I've grown in the past. It wasn't exceptional, but it wasn't bad either, so we'll see about it. Curtis Creek was kind of a novel one. I'm sure it does well up north. I'm sure it doesn't do good in the south, so I'm putting it over here on the other pile. And on that pile, if you see a tomato you want, let me know. It's kind of first come, first serve on those tomatoes on this pack here. So if you see something, hey, I'd like to have it, let me know in the comments or email me. You got to email before it's over with. I'll probably put the email in the description. Last year, Chef Choice Black. It made a ton of tomatoes. Did really good. They're really big. Had good taste to it. It was probably my favorite tomato I grew last year. So, and like I say, it's a black tomato, so that's why they call it black. And I actually ordered some more seeds from it. I'm not really sure why. It might be pellet to seed. I'm not sure. Chef Choice Pink. I don't remember a whole lot about it. I think it did really well. I think it made really well. Dr. Wyche's is my wife's favorite tomato, so I'm going to grow some more of those. It does not produce a lot of tomatoes. It does produce a really big tomato. I think it produced the biggest tomato I've ever grown. Was it Dr. Wyche's or Wyche's? Argue how to say it. Again, it's one that you like to grow. You don't want to depend upon it. It's not going to produce a lot of fruit. It's going to produce some, but you're just buying it for the taste, or growing it for the taste of it. Purple Boy, I really like it as a purple tomato. Does really well, produces well. It does have a variety of sizes. It'll produce a really big tomato, and it'll start producing smaller tomatoes. I have heard that if you thin out the tomatoes, that they'll all start producing the bigger tomatoes, but I don't thin tomatoes. I try to make all I can when I can. Chef Choice Orange. It made well last year. I don't remember the taste because they all kind of came off at the same time. So, but I think it was a nice tomato also. I don't even have any more of these. Anyway, Paul Robeson. I'm not sure if I got how many seeds I got left of it. It's another one you're gonna grow it for the taste. It's one of the better tasting varieties out there. It doesn't produce a whole lot. Nature's Riddle, if I remember last year I grew it and it got some type of disease on it really quick. That doesn't necessarily mean it was at fault, but it's a very pretty tomato. I think it has a good taste to it, but I haven't had as much success to it. Mountain Merit is one that has a lot of disease resistance to it, so if you're having a hard time growing them, that'd be a good one to grow. Lemon Boy, my wife likes it. It is a milder tomato. It doesn't have a real strong taste to it. Kind of on the sweet side of things. The Wild Boar Solar, I think, was the one that had the problem last year. I'm not sure I grew Nature's Riddle last year. Again, it's a really pretty tomato. I don't remember the taste much about the taste, but I did know it didn't produce a lot. Fred's Tie-Dye, which is supposed to be in this group because it's a dwarf tomato. It's a dwarf tomato. I really liked it. Good flavor. It is a really pretty tomato. It has good flavor to it. It's a good one to grow. Decafu, I grew it one year. It produced well. Average flavor as far as I know. And then I've got these that I bought in bulk. Now what I'm going to do on some of these, if you're a gardener in your 20s, you want to try to grow seeds, but you don't want to spend a lot of money on it, let me know. I'll send you 10 seeds or so for you to try to grow some tomatoes. Big Beef is one it's a good tomato. It will produce really big tomatoes. That's the word big. More of a beefsteak type tomato. Mortgage Lifter. It's one that, it's got a good story behind it. It's an heirloom tomato. Supposedly a guy that had mortgaged was behind on his mortgage. That's what saved his farm. It produced okay. We weren't impressed with the flavor. Whopper, which I think is the one that's like Park's Whopper, makes big tomatoes. Again, I haven't been overly impressed with any of those. Better Boy, I've liked it. I used to not like it very well, but then I came back. It does produce a lot of tomatoes. So it's got production on your side. It's disease resistant. Would suggest it's a good one for a beginner grower to grow. Again, if you're a beginner grower, want to try out some seeds, let me know and I can send you some seeds for the first 10 people, I guess, that require it. I do want to be younger growers, just giving y'all a chance, because I know when you're young, finances are tough when you're younger. When you get older, a lot of times you can come up with the money if you need to. But Porterhouse is another one I got with the bulk seeds, so if you want to grow some of those. Now, the other ones I've got, I'm going to try to go over these quickly. Kind of like a picture. This is Fuzzy Wuzzy. I really like this tomato. It's a really pretty tomato. It has very fuzzy foliage on it, kind of a silvery foliage, very pretty tomato. I gave it to a lady that I used to work with, and her granddaughter fell in love with it. It was her tomato, and she grew it. Grew very pretty fruit, very pretty plant. And you notice I said nothing about the flavor. And it's not the best on the flavor. It's kind of a drier tomato. It's not going to win any taste contest. It's not a bad tomato, but still, her little granddaughter loved this thing to death, and that's why I actually bought some more seeds so I can make sure I can grow some more. I'm going to buy some more seeds. Make sure I got it for her. Dwarf Firebird Sweet. I grew it last year. Molly Rose. I think it had a different. I think it has a really. If I remember right, Molly Rose one had a really light green foliage to it, so it's not. It's just in its genetics. Kookaburra Crackle is one that a lot of people like in the dwarf tomato seeds, and if I grow any dwarfs, I'll be growing it again. Dwarf Sweet Sue was my wife's favorite, our pastor's wife's favorite. It's a yellow tomato. It's a dwarf. It's still a bigger dwarf. It gets 4.5 foot tall. But the mother plant, the original plant, it would get 10 foot tall. And she really liked the flavor. It's very sweet tomato. In fact, I said yellow tomato. Patio Choice tomato. I don't think yeah, I'd get grow some. I can't remember on it. Beneath Tigerette, I grew it last year. It's a pretty tomato. I don't remember a whole lot about it. I think it was similar taste to the Fuzzy Wuzzy. Groovy Tunes was another one. Yeah, Groovy Tunes is the one that had the really light flavor, the light color to them, the light green color to the leaves. Pretty tomato. I can't remember the taste of it, to be honest with you. Barfest. It was a 2018 tomato, so I'm gonna put it over here if you want to try a dwarf tomato. It is one of the bigger dwarfs, and the dwarfs you do really well in 5-gallon buckets. Is kind of what you want to look for in that. Tasmanian Chocolate Dwarf. I recommend it. It's got a good flavor. Very pretty tomato. Vigorous plant. Rosetta Purple. I can't remember much about it. I grew it. Same thing with Dwarf Purple. And the reason that I'm not, none of those am I knocking it. It's just when the tomatoes came off, they all came off at the same time. And I had a whole bunch of tomatoes out there in the main garden, and I really didn't get a chance to really try out most of them. In the past, like I say, Tasmanian Devil, Tasmanian Dwarf one we did well on. The last one I'm going to mention is going to be the dwarf tomato. There's micro dwarf tomatoes. These tomatoes would do good in the 1-gallon pot or even smaller. These are the ones you just get about this tall. Put it on a bunch of tomatoes. Pinocchio was one that I grew. Aztec was one that grew really well. And Fat Frog is one that a lot of people talk about. I've not grown it yet. Hopefully I'll grow it. Yellow Canary. It's a little bit on the bigger side of the dwarf tomatoes. Probably 12, 14 inches tall. Rosy Finch is another one I got from Hoss Tools. Little Red Riding Hood. Bonsai Micro Tomato. This is a dwarf Purple Boy. I don't think the flavor on it's that great, but it's got a really pretty tomato that's on a dwarf, micro dwarf stock, so it's going to be small. Chicolas, I don't know. I haven't grown it yet. The Pygmy one's a pretty good one, and they did have one that it was a sample pack of 6 different types of seed, and I don't know if I'm going to grow these or not, but if you do get from Forgotten Heirlooms, that you might get a package of these. So that way you can try different ones. I think micro tomato is really cool to grow. I grew some last year. I started in September. It got cold. I think we started getting tomatoes off about this time of year. It's one that if you live down south, you can grow them, and when it gets pretty weather like today, you can leave them outside. When it's going to get cold like tonight, you bring them back inside, shuffle them back and forth. They're in small pots. I grew 8 of them. They did well. You know, they were tomatoes to eat, and they would taste better than what you get in the store. So I can't say they're the best tomatoes I ever tried, but they're still better. And it does nice to have tomato homegrown tomatoes in January. Anyway, that's tomatoes that I plan on growing. If you, like I say, if you want to, you know, shop for some of the ones I've got in this part here that I'm giving away, let me know. Anyway, if you came this far, thanks for watching, and hope to see you next time.